There are two elements that are very important for human beings. The first is a graphics card. The second is gravity. Now at Tech Yes City, when you mix the two together, you get a Gravis card. And here's the thing, today I've got the top 7 Gravis cards that you guys may wish to look at if you're building a new or a used gaming PC. Now I'm going to separate them into NVIDIA and AMD, and I'll put some timestamps in the description below because I know there is going to be people out there who don't want to get an NVIDIA card or they don't want to get an AMD card. And so you just save your time, go to that section, and I'm going to be recommending the best choices for budget gamers right now. This is both used and new, and these are my top 7 picks, and they're in no particular order because, as always, with parts, always get the best deal that comes up on the market. But what I'm finding with these cards right now is they're coming in even on eBay prices at ridiculously good levels. So let's get into the first card, starting off with the GTX 1660 Super. Now checking out prices even on eBay, you can start picking these cards up for under $100, and they're going to make for a great 1080p high settings gaming card. Also, they are very efficient on power, even if you decide to run them out of the box, or if you like to undervolt the cards, which I love doing here at Tech Yes City. Now, I know you're gonna say, Brian, a lot of crypto miners were mining on GTX 1660 Supers and 1660 Ti's, and even the regular GTX 1660s. And this is true. However, if you are buying off an online platform like eBay, you can do some simple tests like getting the card in, making sure it's in good condition, but also moving a memory slider and core clock slider in MSI Afterburner and just making sure you've got a little bit of headroom there, and that should mean that the card should still have some good life left in it. Now, in terms of buying off crypto miners, we're gonna touch on this first because a lot of graphics cards out there, not just GTX 1660 Supers, but also pretty much any other card that I'm recommending in today's video, besides the final recommendation, there is a chance, however small or large it may be, that these cards were used on cryptocurrency mining benches. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that I'm only putting in today's video cards that would have gone through what I call one season of mining. So you won't see in today's video any recommendations from RX 580s and even GTX 1070s because I feel like a lot of those cards, especially if you're buying online, they could have gone through 2 seasons of cryptocurrency mining, meaning I don't think those cards would have a lot of life left in them, just based on personal experience. Now, the second recommendation here is the RTX 2060. I picked up one of these personally for around about $120. Absolute bargain at these prices, considering they are a strong 1080p gaming card. And they're also a little bit faster than the GTX 1660 Super. You do get access as well. This is a very important thing. You do get access to DLSS 2.0. Though in terms of the ray tracing, I personally wouldn't be buying an RTX 2060 for its ray tracing, as it's actually the weakest card of all the RTX cards out there when it comes to turning on ray tracing. Meaning, if you turn this on, you're probably going to get a very stuttery experience that's just not going to be enjoyable. Though next up on the recommendation list here is the RTX 3060 Ti. Now, looking at prices, I am seeing these go all over the world for very good prices. In fact, in my recent parts hunt that I did from last month, and also stay tuned and make sure you're subbed and ring that bell because we do have a Tokyo parts hunt coming up for used PC parts very soon here on the channel. I saw one in the footage that I took and I was like, I converted that yen price into USD and I was thinking that's a pretty solid price for a 3060 Ti. Now, if you can get one of these cards under $300 US, they make for a very decent 1440p gaming card. Now, of course, if you turn on DLSS 2.0, you can even match on ultra settings a lot of those high refresh rate monitors. So this is a very powerful card. It's probably one of the best newer cards in terms of value for money, especially off the used market. Though, as we said before with those cryptocurrency miners, this card, as well as the RTX 3070, they were extremely popular for cryptocurrency mining. However, if you get one of these cards in, do inspect it. Afterburner is the easiest way to get an idea of how hard that card has been used. also if it's been taken care of. And this is the biggest difference between getting a card from a miner who knows how to take care of the graphics card versus a miner who doesn't know how to take care of the graphics card. To give you guys an analogy, let's go over to cars, where if you're buying a used car, if you're buying a car off, say, an old grandma, and she's never driven that car hard, then most likely that car is going to be absolutely fine. Though on the flip side, if you then buy a used car off a young hoon, for example, even with the same kilometers on the clock, chances are the engine will probably go out on you in a couple of months, and even if you're lucky, the door may fall off your used vehicle. But when it comes to buying used graphics cards, if you do want a full guide, I have done actually quite a few videos. I'll link some up here and also in the description below for you guys, so you can make sure you're getting the best deal when it comes to buying off the used market. Though with that aside, let's go on to the final graphics card recommendation here, and that is the RTX 2080 or the 2080 Super. I've been picking up actually quite a few of these, and they can go for as little as $250 or less, making them a very powerful card for the money. And don't shy away just because it's not an RTX 3000 series card or an RTX 4090. This card is going to give you an amazing experience at 1080p and 1440p gaming. For me personally, I put it in the same category as the 3060 Ti, but you can pick these up for a lot cheaper than a 3060 Ti. And the good thing about the 2080s is a lot of cryptocurrency miners actually weren't targeting these cards. So I'd say out of the group of cards that I've mentioned here today, this would be the least likely to have wound up on a cryptocurrency mining bench. Now it's time to move on to the AMD graphics card recommendation here, where we have 3 cards that I've picked out, and I'm looking at the prices and I'm really impressed. The first of which is going to be the RX 5600 XT. These were bought up, make no mistake, they were bought up by a lot of cryptocurrency miners. However, they're now going for as cheap as $100 or less. And at this price, you are going to be getting some extremely good performance at 1080p gaming, even 1440p gaming. That's how powerful this graphics card is. In fact, it's going to be more powerful than that GTX 1660 Super recommendation, and it's also going to come in roughly with similar performance to an RTX 2060 or RTX 2060 Super. Now you may be scratching your head and saying, why is the AMD card coming in essentially with better value as opposed to the NVIDIA cards? And this is pretty much just the way it is in the tech scene. If you've been in this space for a while, you'll know that the NVIDIA cards are generally more sought after, not just from the end user themselves, but also from people who are reselling gaming PCs, who know that those cards have better resellability and they're just more desirable for the end user. So that does play a big role into seeing, when you look at the pure performance per dollar metric, why the NVIDIA cards actually come in with less value on the surface. The next card here is the big brother of the RX 5600 XT, and that is the RX 5700 and 5700 XT. These are going for as little as $130, even $140 on the used market, and they do offer similar performance to an RX 6600 XT, which is a big thing because the next recommendation we've got here in the list is a new card. It's one of the best cards you can get at the moment, in my opinion, not just in terms of new, but also used value. But the RX 5700 XT is a great card on its own, and definitely do keep an eye out for if these cards are going cheaper locally. One thing I haven't spoke about in today's video is always look for a good deal used locally. In my experience, you're going to find much better deals. The prices that I'm mentioning here today, you can get usually around 20% off, just because those sellers don't want to sell on eBay and pay for things like postage and also platform fees, which erode their profits, but also they could face the headache of a bad buyer who gets something and just simply doesn't want it anymore. At least when they sell locally, they can show you the card, they can show you it working, you can quickly come to an agreement, and you can both get on with your lives. I just realized I made that sound like a relationship, but sometimes that's what PC gaming is. It's that relationship that has its ups and downs. Admittedly, with PC gaming, it's usually to the upside. Relationships, I didn't say anything. No comment. Though the final card to recommend for you guys here today is my personal favorite in terms of lower end cards, the budget realm, and that is the RX 6600. In fact, the RX 6600M, I am going to pay particular attention to this GPU because it can be had now for under $180, brand new, shipped worldwide. This is an absolute bargain because it not only puts the buyer back in control in terms of value for money, but it also puts a lot of pressure on the used market, where if you see one of these cards, say for instance a 5700 XT going for $200, you can just say to the seller, hey man, I can get this card brand new, shipped to my door for $180. Would you be willing to lower your prices? And that seller may turn around and go, whoa, yeah, actually that's a crazy good price. I didn't realize my used prices were overpriced. And so this card has so much merit, not just being a good card for new buyers, but also being a good card to use as a basis to get cheaper prices on the used stuff. Now, in terms of performance, it's also awesome. It's 1080p, 1440p gaming. It's going to absolutely slam it. And also when it comes to its power consumption, it is going to be pretty much one of the most efficient graphics cards out there on the market. So this card is just an absolute win in terms of new pricing. In terms of used pricing, you'll find because this new card is at such a good price off AliExpress, you'll be lucky to get an RX 6600 for around $150 to around $200. So sometimes they'll even come in more expensive used, then you can get this thing for you off AliExpress. However, the final thing to clarify about this GPU is it is the M version, and that is the mobile variant. However, it is the exact same thing as the desktop variant. I did a video covering this RX 6600M. I'll put the link up here, and I was very impressed. However, if we look at, say, the RTX 3060 6GB, the RTX 3060M more specifically, I did see a video from David Does Tech, and after seeing that video, I would just completely avoid the RTX 3060M because NVIDIA have pretty much made it obsolete in terms of you cannot get that GPU, put it on a regular test bench, and expect it to work like a normal RTX 3060. NVIDIA have essentially locked this out, and so you have to get these custom hacked drivers. And I'm not sure if you guys remember, but there was this mining graphics card years ago. I think it was called like the P100 or something. It was essentially a GTX 1060. At Tech Yes City, I recommended against buying this graphics card because it was such a nightmare to get the drivers to work properly, and also you didn't have ongoing support. There was no guarantee of that because it was done from third-party sellers essentially hacking the driver suite. The RTX 3060M is the exact same story all over again. I would avoid it like the plague. However, the RX 6600M from AMD, that uses the regular drivers. They install absolutely fine, even on the desktop. So there's nothing to worry about on that side of the fence. Anyhow, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button for us, and also let us know in the comments section below, is there any GPUs that you like personally you're looking out for on the used and also the new market too? Also, you guys may be wondering, like, Brian, where is the RTX 3080s, RTX 3090s, and also RX 6800 XT recommendations? Those cards, I've found that they've gone up a little bit in price in terms of their online pricing of it recently. Of course though, I will take care of you guys. In the description below, I'll put some price guides on what I'm personally paying for these GPUs right now, especially the maximum price that I'm prepared to pay for these GPUs at this point in time. And also there is one other card, the RX 6700 XT. Don't be afraid to get this card for around $250. It's an absolute bargain at that price too. However, there are so many graphics cards we could probably make this list go on forever, but you'll notice one thing, and this is the most important thing, I'm only putting what I feel are graphics cards that could have gone through only one season of mining as opposed to going through 2 seasons of mining. So personally, I'll make a follow-up video on this where I'm avoiding things like RX 580s and GTX 1070s because I feel the chances of buying one of these cards used and coming into problems is going to be actually very high this time around. Anyhow, guys, I am going to go scoot on out of here. But before we do, we got the question of the day as well, which comes from High Level. And they ask, wasn't the i5 13600K only supposed to work with DDR5 memory? And I don't know where you heard this rumor from, but from my knowledge, it was always intended to work with DDR4 and DDR5 memory. Intel made it so that the 12th and 13th gen CPUs also support DDR4, where I feel like this is one of Intel's biggest winning decisions that they've made for the average consumer in a long time. As opposed to AMD, they went with AM5, they only went with DDR5 memory, and the DDR5 prices, they are a lot more expensive than DDR4, especially if you want to get the same amount of memory capacity, say 32 gigabytes versus 32 gigabytes. So supporting DDR4 is a really good choice in my opinion for people who want to look for the best value. Though I hope that answers that question, and I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, bye. Buy a graphics card. Peace out for now. Peace out for now. Buy a GPU. Because they may not stay this low forever. Inflation's a thing. We will talk about this more, especially on a live stream.